Imagine a civilization not only surviving, but flourishing amidst the unforgiving desert, relying on a single majestic river that flows through the dry land. This might be hard to imagine, but that's exactly what happened in ancient Egypt thanks to the Nile River. In today's video, we'll take a journey back in time to discover how the Nile River sculpted one of the most advanced and prosperous civilizations in history. From the river's annual flooding that provided fertile land for farming to the development of an intricate irrigation system, we'll explore the critical role the Nile played in shaping the daily lives, economy, and religion of the ancient Egyptians. Before we get started, please take a moment to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you can stay updated on all of our latest videos. First, let us tell you about the intriguing ancient Egyptian material culture, which was formed by the region's geology, natural resources, and most importantly, its connection to the Nile. Ancient Greek historian Herodotus once remarked that it was obvious to any sensible person that Lower Egypt was a gift of the river. The Nile River's influence on ancient Egyptian culture was not confined to Lower Egypt. It was also an essential lifeline that allowed for the production of food, resources, agricultural land, transportation, and construction materials. Come along with us as we go on a thrilling adventure down the world's longest river, the Nile. Did you know that the Egyptians referred to the Nile as simply river or Eteru before the Greeks gave it the name Nile? The White Nile, the Blue Nile, and the Atbara River are three most important tributaries that make up the Nile River system. The Blue Nile causes the annual flood and provides most of the water and silt for the White Nile, which originates in Lakes Victoria and Albert. The origin of the Nile's 6 primary cataracts are in the city of Aswan. Aswan serves as a natural barrier between Egypt and its southern neighbor Nubia due to its shallow and tumultuous waterways. We'll look at how these massive granite outcroppings created a series of waterfalls that changed the river's course and made navigation considerably more challenging by boat. Time travel awaits you as we go out to discover the ancient Egyptian landscape. Ancient Egypt, in what is now the Middle East and northeastern Africa, was divided into 4 separate regions: the Nile Valley, the Western Desert, the Eastern Desert, and the Delta. The natural environment of each area was important to the ancient Egyptians in several ways. The Nile Delta and Valley, as well as desert oasis locations, were prime locations for urban development since they provided both water and fertile land. The Nile Valley served as the economic and cultural hub of ancient Egypt. The river was essential to their way of life, serving as a source of water for agriculture, commerce, and subsistence fishing. But the surrounding deserts were a symbol of death and anarchy since they were inhospitable and provided few resources. Now let's explore the fascinating history of the words Kemet, black land, and Deshret, red land, which were used to describe the Nile Valley and the desert respectively. Everyday life was affected by the stark contrast between the two in ancient Egypt, and not simply in a superficial or geographical way. The dry atmosphere of the desert has made cemeteries there suitable for the preservation of tombs and their contents. Since the dead would not be moved by the Nile's annual flood and the dry climate helped preserve the tombs, we have been able to learn a great deal about ancient Egyptian life. Upper and Lower Egypt are 2 sections of the country with their own distinct cultures and landscapes. Learn how the name Two Lands refers to the 2 main parts of the country. Those 2 main parts have an interesting connection between the names and the direction of the Nile's flow, from south to north. Ancient Egyptians' lifestyles varied depending on whether they were located in the broad flat plain of the Nile Delta or the limited belt of fertile land in the Nile Valley. The Egyptians built cities and cemeteries on turtlebacks, the elevated areas of land that served as islands when the Nile flooded. The delta's position as a gateway into the Levant and along the Mediterranean is crucial to commerce and diplomatic ties. Upper and Lower Egypt looked to their ruler as the unifier of the 2 lands, as you may remember. The Nile gods are depicted in the Sema Tawi pattern as they use lotus and papyrus plants to bridge the gap between the 2 lands. Because of the river's significance, ancient Egyptians based their calendar on its annual cycle. There were 3 major times of the year: Akhet, Peret, and Shemu. Nilometers were used to measure and record the height of the annual inundation, providing crucial data for the local farmers. The Nile River was revered by the Egyptians for reasons beyond providing necessities like water and food. Hapi represented the annual flooding of the Nile and hence was worshipped as the god of life. Osiris was a god of regeneration and rebirth, and his black skin was commonly used in art to symbolize the fertility of the Nile River and its silt. It is amazing to see how the Egyptians' religious ideas and practices were shaped by the natural world. The annual flooding of the Nile River was fundamental to their calendar and their religious practices. This further exemplifies the degree to which ancient Egyptian culture was embedded in its natural setting. Did you know that the Nile River was not only an important roadway for the ancient Egyptians, but also a crucial supply of water and food? It was the most convenient mode of transportation and was thus crucial in mining expeditions, commercial endeavors, construction projects, and other types of travel. The Egyptians were skilled boat builders, with some of the oldest depictions of boats found on pre-dynastic boats. Large objects such as stones, obelisks, and architectural parts could be moved with less effort and fewer people because of easier river access. Both at the funeral and in the hereafter, boats played an integral role in the funerary religion. The Nile River and the Egyptian desert had an effect on every facet of ancient Egyptian society. The floodplain, water, and sediment of the river not only provided the basis for civilization in northeastern Africa, but also served as a source of inspiration for the people who lived there at this critical juncture in history. It's incredible how the river affected everything from their means of transportation to their religious practices. The wonderful natural environment of ancient Egypt and the significance of the Nile River had in their way of life are only hinted at in this film. You will be surprised to hear that the river also influenced Egyptian art quite a lot. Depictions of the river can be found in various art forms, from pottery and sculptures to wall paintings and hieroglyphics. These representations often showcase the river as a mighty force, with scenes of boats sailing on its waters or animals drinking from its banks. Additionally, the Nile's annual flooding cycle, which was seen as a symbol of renewal and fertility, was also a common theme in Egyptian art. The river's influence on Egyptian art demonstrates the deep connection that the ancient Egyptians had with their environment and the importance of the Nile in their daily lives. You will be amazed to know that the Nile River is still important today because it provides water for drinking, agriculture, and transportation for millions of people in Africa. People still rely on agriculture for their living, and the Nile River is an essential source of irrigation for the region. Also, the river serves as a vital economic and transit corridor in northern Africa. The Nile River also provides hydroelectricity for its agriculture and transportation benefits. After its completion in 1970, the Aswan High Dam began providing Egypt and its neighbors with power while also controlling the river's flow. The Nile River is significant for more than just its usefulness. The beauty and significance of this place have enthralled painters, authors, and musicians throughout time. Because of its historical and cultural significance, it continues to draw visitors from all over the world. The Nile River is an essential lifeline for tens of millions of people in the region and beyond. It's remarkable to see how a single natural resource can affect so many diverse spheres of human activity, from food production and transportation to cultural expression and vacation planning. Thank you for watching this video on how the Nile River sculpted a civilization. We hope you enjoyed learning about the crucial role that this mighty river played in the development of ancient Egyptian society. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date with more fascinating insights into the world's history. See you in the next one!